Hello everyone and welcome back to the Process Automation podcast from ABB. In our last episode, we explored how shipping, one of the world's oldest industries, has transformed over the years, with digital technology at the heart of that change. Safety, efficiency and sustainability, they remain the key drivers of this evolution, and as a result, ships are benefiting from smarter logistics, predictive maintenance and real-time tracking. But taking digitalization to the next level in such a complex sector is no easy task. Both existing and new technologies, they need to work seamlessly together to ensure resilient, safe and reliable operations. On top of this, challenges like cybersecurity, secure ship-to-shore data flows, and preparing a workforce for the digital era, they add even more complexity. And that is exactly what we are going to explore in today's episode, as we ask the question, how can we take digitalization to the next level in the maritime industry? I'm Fran Scott, and this is the Process Automation podcast from ABB. We are going to be joined by Skou, Digital Division Lead at ABB's Marine and Ports Division, and Lee Carr, Vice President of Marine Cyber Safety at Carnival Corporation and PLC. But to start, we are joined by Mikkel Skou, Managing Director of Veracity by DNV, an independent online data platform coordinating data sharing in the maritime industry. Mikkel starts by explaining a bit more about what that all means.
You can imagine a Google Drive of ship data. So we are a neutral meeting place where ship owners, cargo owners, the banks, insurance and regulators, they can access trusted data through one source.
When it comes to shipping, it is one of the oldest industries in the world. And would it be fair to say that today it's one of the fastest evolving industries, especially when it comes to digitalization? And what do you think is driving that change?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say shipping is really that fast moving, but it's an old industry, as you know, and it's very adaptable. So these days things are changing due to the ambition to net zero emissions for industry, and shipping is part of that. So we have seen accelerated digitalization of the maritime industry the past years, and it's then driven mainly by the cost of emitting greenhouse gases, primarily driven by regulation in EU. But also now with emerging regulatory scheme from IMO, which is the International Maritime Organization. Another driver for modernization, you can say digitalization of shipping, is the lack of seafarers. So having access to competent crew is a challenge. And this is pushing forward more automation of onboard systems so that we can have a safe and reliable shipping operation globally.
And what does this change actually look like if we zoom into the technology that's actually being used in shipping?
Yeah, so both for automation, but also for decarbonization of shipping, we need access to data. And this data comes from two sources. It comes from the hardware on board the vessels, and it comes from human reporting. Today, a lot of this is human reporting, but more and more we see that sensors on board equipment will be the source of the data. And this data need to be connected through internet, you can say, and also satellite communication. But for the business to really use this data, it has to be quality assured and verified so that you can trust and make business decisions. And there is also a need for data governance so that those that own the data, they can manage the sharing of that in an ecosystem. So this is happening today, and the industry is using new technology, satellite technology. The equipment manufacturers having more sensors installed, or quality sensors, and we have digital coordinators like Veracity to make sure that data is connected in the value chain. And to make this happen, you also need a partner model. Because there is no one company that can really make this happen for the industry. So a partner attitude and even companies that are at some point competitors, they have to collaborate on certain things to make this happen.
Now, you've touched on this a little bit, but what are the main challenges when it comes to implementing these digital changes within this maritime sector?
So today, with the regulation from EU and also the forthcoming regulation from IMO, there is a challenge to understand the regulation and to agree on how the regulation should be implemented in practice, and do this implementation in time for the enforcement by the regulators. So that's a real challenge for the whole industry. The greenhouse gas regulations, the EU ETS emissions trading scheme, and the fuel EU regulations, they are complex schemes. So it's a struggle for everyone to really do this correctly and in time. The other key challenge is to establish a trusted data set, so that decisions can be taken on a solid foundation, and that the cost of carbon emissions is calculated correctly. So that's the other challenge, and that is needs a collaboration effort in the industry to establish trusted data sets.
Could we zoom into that a little bit? And could you give me some tangible examples of where small changes in the data collection or the digitalization of your operations have led to business benefits or improved efficiency?
Certainly. So the use case that we are working on with partners today is to move away from standalone black box loggers and applications on the ship to always connected sensor scheme, reporting scheme with cloud APIs, so that data can flow to the decision makers in time, verified. And the players we then target is the EU ETS accountants, the fuel EU pooling applications. These are more financial services. And then you have the shipping banks and the charters and the cargo owners. So just by establishing common data standards and partnerships, the industry is making this happen today, and this is actually one of the key, you can say, successes in maritime at the moment, that we managed to connect this value chain. So it's not one player doing this, it's a collective effort.
That all makes sense, because if you're all working together, you get those efficiencies of scale, and so you all benefit. And so overall, how fast is this industry moving, and what innovations, if any, do you think will happen in the next 5 years?
So the EU ETS emissions trading scheme, for which now involves shipping, and the fuel EU regulation regulating the carbon intensity for shipping fuels is already enforced this year. So things are moving. So decarbonization of shipping will be the main focus the next 5 years, and that also involves, of course, not just taxing and articulating what should be the cost of emissions, but also energy efficiency services, which involves a wide variety of services. You have the companies that offers smart routing, so that you can have the most optimal shipping route, but also retrofits and modernization of the fleet, so that the equipment are running at optimal capacity, but also supporting the new biofuels and the low carbon fuels. So I think that will be the next 5 years, and we will also see that there will be a financial market for trading EU ETS and the fuel surpluses, so that the financial side will take a key role, and I think that marketplace will grow the next 5 years and be substantial.
Gosh, so significant change is on the way.
It's major change. I think the fact that the industry, you can say, or the society is demanding shipping to reduce emissions. It's driving digitalization of the industry, which is I think is very good. But it's also forcing both the owners but also the manufacturers to really build smart solutions. And as everyone talks about AI, that will also enter the industry. But for that to happen, we need to have a data foundation where we can trust the data and then use this smart, you can say, decision machines evolving the industry.
Thank you so much, Mikkel. Up next, Skou, who is the division digital lead at ABB's Marine and Ports division. In this role, Skou, he heads up the asset management business, the vessel and voyage performance optimization business, autonomous shipping, as well as the ports digital solutions and cybersecurity. So they certainly keep him busy. I started by asking Skou, what are the key technologies that are driving the digital transformation in the maritime industry?
We start with the most obvious one. It's, of course, the energy efficiency. So everything related to the performance modeling. And by performance modeling, we are of course, talking about the digital twin technologies. When trying to give the best model out of the vessel and a vessel performance or ports performance, you typically need to develop a digital twin to kind of to be able to show how the operational flows are going through the different operational profiles. And then, of course, it's all about the AI, as we can see it from the news. These new kind of new tools, new engines that we can utilize to improve the operations. It's really boosted by the AI. There we are talking about the predictive analytics, cybersecurity, and then of course the cloud computing capabilities. While the connectivity between the ship and shore or ship and port side is getting better and better all the time. So I would say these are the main technologies that ABB is working together with the other companies in the industry.
Now, when it comes to driving this digital transformation on board of ships, that is not going to be easy. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you've come across, and what are ABB doing to overcome them?
I would say that the biggest challenge is of course the collaboration between the different systems on board. So when we are looking at the marine industry or maritime industry in general, we are talking about 500,000 vessels. We do not concentrate of all the different vessel segments. So we are probably talking about 70,000 up to 100,000 vessels. And with these 100,000 vessels, there are of course big players in the market owning more than 1,000 vessels. But most of the vessels are owned by the small players or the smaller ship owners. So roughly 70% of the market or the ship owners in the market are owning 20 vessels or less. So it's definitely a kind of a challenge to try to find a one-size-fits-all system that could serve the whole market. So many companies have already started their digital journey like 2 decades ago, and they have a different type of systems on board that they are utilizing. But like I mentioned earlier about these different technologies, for example, the performance modeling or predictive analytics, so there are a lot of tools out there. And these tools, when you are implementing those, might be that you take this solution for this company and this solution from that company. So then you end up end up in the situation that you have a quite nice package of the different digital solutions, but you have those digital solutions like 12 to 15 to be utilized on a daily basis. So it creates a challenge, of course, for the people on board that you need to master so many different type of solutions. Those are individual systems. So the challenge there is to put them all into one, so that the users on board actually can concentrate on navigating the vessel and making sure that the vessel is going into the right direction and it's kind of fulfilling its operational requirements. My idea and my feeling is that we will see in the future more of these platforms, which kind of makes it possible to have this interoperability between the different systems. This also requires from companies like ABB and other companies in the market that we open our interfaces into these kind of platforms where they can be utilized.
And what kind of improvements are we seeing when ships are upgraded to more connected digital systems?
Of course, there are many different things, but energy efficiency, I would say, is the most important thing. So, when looking at it from the financial perspective, let's take example. Weather routing can improve the energy efficiency on the vessel by 10%. And it's a huge amount of money when you calculate this 100,000 vessels with the 10% energy efficiency. That's, of course, the number one thing. Then we need to comply with all the different regulatory environment and the regulatory changes. And those changes are typically made in this decarbonization and energy efficiency field. Of course, ABB is taking the safety also as a very important matter. As we operate ourselves quite on a safely manner, it also means that whenever we develop something, there typically is, on top of the financials, there is a safety aspect as well. And with the safety aspect, we are talking about how to improve the vessel safety, the crew safety, cargo safety, and of course, everyone around it, so environmental safety aspects.
Understood. And let's talk about AI. What's the role of AI solutions in shipping today, and where do you think it's going in terms of this technology being integrated within the maritime industry?
Yeah, very good question. It becomes too complicated to master all these different digital solutions and different reporting and comply with all the rules and regulations without some assistance. So when I'm looking at the AI, I see that the humans are still the main decision makers, but they need better understanding about the surroundings and they need a better understanding what is happening on board the vessel. So just to name a few, I see that the AI will bring assistance for the autonomous navigation, or at least partly autonomous navigation, cargo management in ports, so the waiting times, we can get those waiting times lower, which also applies then for the routing, so the weather routing or the voyage planning of the vessel. So when the vessel approaches to the harbor, it doesn't make any sense that the vessel goes there for a wait. So reducing speeds reduces carbon emissions, but at the same time, these just-in-time arrivals will make sure that the vessels get, together with the ports, they can kind of enhance the global logistic chains. Then, of course, the environmental monitoring, predictive maintenance, and then reducing a different type of operational risks by helping to plan their vessel operations as well as the port side operations better.
So let's talk about autonomous shipping, because there is this picture of where it would be this unmanned ship with no crew on it, but that's not the case, is it?
No, it isn't the case. I would say the case on the autonomous shipping is it's a stepwise approach towards the autonomous shipping, and there are several smaller steps. So you need to have proper sensors on board in order to create the situational awareness around your vessel. There is also this AI we discussed earlier about. So how the AI will help to make the decisions, to monitor decisions. There is a connectivity from vessel to the shore station. So someone needs to monitor the vessel. Of course, the vessel we could probably make a fully autonomous vessel next year even, but is it safe? How safe is it? So we need to build these kind of a different type of a safety mechanisms on top of it.
And when a ship is upgraded to these connected digital systems, what changes are actually seen on the ship? What does this look like?
It's a huge amount of sensors, of course. So we need to know what is happening on board the vessel. So we need to know what is happening on the engines. We need to know what is happening on the control network, automation. Then when talking about the control, of course, we need to have a bridge control. And bridge needs to be controlled, of course, locally, but also on the remote location, and then, of course, in a fully autonomous way. And then when I mentioned the sensors, it's also about what needs to be there. So we need to equip the vessel for example, with cameras in order to get the close vicinity of the vessel surveilled. So it needs to be under surveillance. And then maybe to add few radars, maybe to add some night vision capabilities, thermal vision capabilities, maybe even to enhance a little bit what happens underneath the water as well. But it's a lot of sensors, sensor fusions, and a good connectivity from the vessel to the shore.
Thank you, Skou. And finally, Lee Carr, Vice President of Marine Cybersafety at Carnival Corporation and PLC.
Yeah, so digitalization, to just step back, when we've been in the cruise business for over 30 plus years now, and our ships were very much analog. We really focus on a couple, I'll say, areas and where this journey has really taken us. One is around enhancing our passenger experience. Another way that we've really focused on digitalization is really, I'll say, connectivity at sea. In addition to that, it's brought to us now that we have better connectivity at seas, we can now do more operation efficiencies. We do real live logistics, real live data collection, real live monitoring through CCTV. And all of this allows us to focus on enhanced customer experience, but also sustainability and compliance.
Oh, gosh, that sounds very impressive. And in terms of all of these operations, how important is the data and digitalization when it comes to these operations?
It's very critical. We have to stay on top of the new technology out there, but it's not just about, integrating new technology. It's also about ensuring that we're in a digital transformation that's anchoring, I'll say, new competitiveness. We want to drive innovation. We want to change passengers' expectations. And we want to make sure that we're reshaping our cruise experience for our customers and also the safety of our vessel. And when it comes back to data, if we don't have this data, then we cannot make transformational decisions for the company as a whole to ensure that our crew, our passengers are safe, and to ensure that our crews and our passengers are having the best experience across our 90 plus ships in our ports and destinations across the globe.
And just to focus in on safety, because obviously there's the safety whilst on board, but also there's cybersecurity safety, isn't there? And so how do you ensure the safety of the data and your fleet in terms of cybersecurity?
Yes, so cybersecurity is a big topic with digitalization. The threat landscape has really expanded and the attack surface has expanded in the marine industry. As more systems get connected, whether it's through our automation systems, we have smart cabins now, we have onboard Wi-Fi, that leaves us open to expanded surface attacks. In addition to that, we want to make sure that we're protecting this vast amounts of data. And then there's threats to our operation technology systems. Those systems include things like our navigation, our propulsions, our safety systems. A breach could really disrupt disrupt our ship operations. So cyber attacks against our port infrastructure and ship-to-shore communications also play a role in that. And with the increase, with geopolitical times and with the cyber threats across the globes, we're seeing an increase in ransomware and phishing risk. And then last but not least, to help address these cyber threats, there are regulatory changes, whether it's with the IMO, the International Maritime Organization, our class societies, the International Association of Class Societies. They're now implementing more regulations than before to help us to address these cyber threats. And it's critical that we don't do this in a vacuum. And then also, last but not least, looking at how we do our zero trust architecture. We really want to make sure that the bad guys aren't getting in and that we're still, taking advantage to digitalize and revolutionize cruising, but we need to demand vigilance in protecting our data and our systems across the fleet.
Gosh, so much to consider there, isn't there?
There is a lot to consider. And I can say within Carnival Corporation and with partners such as ABB, we have been very successful in implementing, I'll say, cutting edge cybersecurity tools, technologies, people, and processes across our fleet.
And in terms of improvement, obviously AI and predictive analytics, they are hot topics right now. How are you implementing those within your organization to improve efficiency and overall safety?
Yes. So I will say this, our organization has adopted what we call an AI committee. It's a global committee across our organization, and it's where anybody in the company can raise suggestions around here's how I would like to adopt AI. It's a great initiative. So we embrace that because we want to really take advantage of AI and what it brings to the organization. Now, with that also brings maybe some of the less attractive side of AI where it can be used maybe possibly in a nefarious way, right? So we also look at pragmatic ways that we want to protect the data that we're putting out in AI and machine learning tools. So we have policies and procedures around that that we look at and we share across our organization. But as far as overall what we have done to give examples of that in using AI, I can use one specifically. And one of the tools that we've adopted across our organization as it relates to safety in a cyber world, we've implemented technology that now automatically looks at our most critical infrastructure. It can tell us what types of systems they are running, what types of vulnerabilities that they have. And with the use of AI, it can do correlation across our organization. So if we find a vulnerability in one system, we can correlate it maybe to another system and say, how of these two can be addressed or how are these two can be impacted? And then we can look at our risk to help mitigate that. That correlation of data, whether it's from a security perspective, makes us safer. So we can address the things in a most proactive way, but also from a data analytics across our fuel consumption, as I said, and also the way that we're looking at our sustainability, our greenhouse, and our customer experience.
That is so many different ways that it comes into play within the organization.
Yes.
And so what are you most excited about in terms of your future journey within this digitalization world? Where do you see it going?
Yes, the future in digitalization in the maritime industry. I would say that, the maritime industry, and reports have said this, that we're typically about 15 years behind IT as it relates to digitalization and cybersecurity on the IT side, okay? On the operation technology side, this is where I'm very excited, where digitalization and companies, such as ABB and other companies are really looking at their portfolio offering to make it better for us, whether it's our engines, whether it's our automation, whether it's our navigation system. All of those are looking at a more digitally connected environment so we can operate our ships more efficiently. But also, we talk about global connectivity on our ships. Our passengers can connect. At one time, everybody wanted to get on a cruise to relax and maybe sit on the Lido deck and enjoy the sun. And they didn't want to be digitally connected. But now, Our passengers come on and, they're connecting 4 and 5 devices. They're streaming live. They're doing social media. We have our ships that allow our passengers to post their cruise experience live out on our big screen TVs and digital signage and, avatars. And it just brings the immersive experience to our customers to be so much better. But we have to do it in a very safe and, I say, pragmatic way for the maritime industry.
Absolutely. You touch on such an important point there that basically they're floating cities, and so there's so many different aspects to look at when it comes to digitalization. But what you're saying is the future is bright and there's lots more to come.
It is very bright. There's a lot more to come. We're continuing to build new ships. We have ships in our shipyard that are continually to optimize and look at our digitalization, look at our safety, look at our sustainability. And it's constantly improving as we roll out new ships. And not only that, but we also go back to our existing fleet and we go into what we call dry docks, where we go and we do refurbishments and we upgrade the technology and the digitalization on there and make sure that all of our fleet across the globe is enhancing everybody's experience at one time.
Thank you, Lee. And it's so fascinating, this industry that we all rely on and how it's changing right at its heart. But that is all we have got time for this episode. Thank you to our guests today, Mikkel, Skou, and Lee, for joining us. I am Fran Scott, and the Process Automation Podcast is a Fresh Air production for ABB. Follow now for free wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode.